Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. The slant.
Yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version.
All right, Paulie, let's go.
Welcome to the Latino Slant, and this is our coverage of. It's more of an addendum to our really huge show we did with Mr. H Reviews and Tom from Midnight's Edge on the movie Scarface, 1983, December 4th. It was released, and since then has become probably the greatest gangster drama ever. And it is timeless, boundless, border. I mean, it's global. So in doing my research and getting ready for the show with Mr. H and Tom, I found this really cool article from Vulture from a few years ago in regards to some of the controversies, a lot of which I didn't know, revolving around Scarface. And I wanted to share it with you and talk about it. So let us go to this older issue of older article from Vulture. And I'm not going to read the whole article by any means. I'm going to kind of just cherry pick because there's a lot of good. At the time, this story was done for their 35th anniversary of Scarface. So there's a lot of quotables from Al Pacino. Now, one thing I found interesting was that who came up with the idea first as far as remaking the classic James Cagney movie Scarface. Was it Martin Bergman, the producer, or who also produced Serpico and Dog Day Afternoon, or was it Pacino? Now, if you ask them, they'll tell you a different story. Let's go with Pacino's. Pacino claimed that he got the idea after a revival screening of the original movie at the Tiffany Theater in Los Angeles. And he says, I went and saw that film and called Marty right after. He said, I think we could do this. There's a remake here. Bergman then reached out to Oliver Stone, who was then known for Midnight Express as the writer. Stone had initially was uninterested. Oliver Stone said, I didn't want to do an Italian mafia movie. Then Sidney Lumet, who was then supposed to direct, had the idea of setting it in Miami with Marelitos. Now, Marelitos are in reference to Cuban exiles. 1980, Castro released a bunch of prisoners, political, some that did some bad stuff, and an ultimate FU to the United States government, released them all, and were sent to Miami. Stone said, that's interesting. And there it was born. And Sidney Lumet's idea, still lives in the film at the beginning. In the spring of 1980, roughly 125,000 new Cuban exiles departed the port of Mariel for the shores of Florida. A fifth of these Marelitos were rumored to be undesirables, petty thieves, and worse, released from Cuban prisons and mental institutions and sent to the United States as a middle finger from Castro. So that is in the film, and the film roughly goes from 1980 to I want to say 83 as far as the timeline. It was, this was kind of infamous. Was that not Al Pacino, excuse me. Oliver Stone was that he held up in Paris to do away from the chemical temptations of Miami and LA and banged out a Stone special. Big, boisterous, provocative, and operatic. That is definitely Scarface. Everyone was wild about it except Lumet, who departed the picture due to that old standby, creative differences. All Bergman would say at the time was that Lumet wanted to make one kind of movie and I wanted to make another. So there you have it. Enter Brian De Palma, who had done Carrie, Dressed to Kill. But he was coming off a stinker, which I love the movie Blowout with John Travolta. And there was a bit of a mix up, and this is how Hollywood works. There was two projects going on at the time, right? Scarface and Prince of the City. That fell apart. He and Lament ended up switching projects after De Palma was dismissed from Prince of the City. Lament made the picture with Treat Williams. De Palma came and did Scarface. So that's how we got those creative forces, including Pacino, behind it. Now, there was already a PR battle over the film in regards to its portrayal of Marelitos and Cubanos and the city of Miami in an early issue in 1982 while they started pre-production. The mayor's office was uncomfortably in the middle. It's just a gangster movie set in Miami. We've never seen our office as a censorship role. However, the city commissioner, Demetrio Perez, led the charge against the picture. Miami Herald columnist Guillermo Martinez penned an editorial voicing their main concern that this movie would fuel anti-Cuban sentiment in Florida, further amplified by a film that would tell the nation and the world that the prototype of the U.S. gangster of the 1980s was a Mariel refugee. Interesting. I had no idea about any of this. The movie fails to say that even among those Marielitos who had criminal records, there were thousands whose offenses were so minor that they would not be considered criminals here, and thousands of others whose criminal record was based on their opposition to the communist regime. Stone explained it. Well, Tony was a gangster. His mother and his sister represented the clean-cut Cuban community. His mother scolds him. You're a scumbag. Get out of my house. You're ruining your sister. So there's a strong morality in the movie. I knew about the criticisms even in advance that Cubans were not like that. But I'm sorry, a lot of Cubans did become Marelitos. If I had done it about Colombians, they would have said the same thing. You're anti-Colombian. Nice, Oliver. What a way to stick to your guns, to your creative vision at the time. So now, even though they tried to smooth it out and they try to work with the community there, they ended up relocating and shooting the majority of the film actually in California. Again, I did not know that. The production started in November 92, but was halted twice by major weather interruptions in California. In March, Al Pacino tripped during a fight scene and fell on an M14 machine gun, burning his left hand on the muzzle of the gun, which had just been fired. Pacino was rushed to the Sherman Oaks Burn Center. To top all that off, there was an interview that Brian De Palma did in September of that year where he blamed the movie for the disillusion of his marriage to actress Nancy Ellen. Nancy Ellen, who had co-starred in his last three films, was bitter that he had cast newcomer Michelle Pfeiffer in the lead role. And he said, I didn't cast her because she wasn't right for the part. I'm a director. I have to make choices. So imagine Nancy Allen being in the role of Elvira and not Michelle Pfeiffer. Wow. The movie was a nightmare to make. Went 3 months over, and I was on the set all the way to the end, Oliver Stone recalled. They kept me there. It was like, who do I have to fuck to get off this ship? It was so slow the way they made it because Brian's not an energy guy and Al Pacino's a retake guy. It cost way too much. It was the black sheep from the get-go with Universal. And indeed, and here's some of the numbers. It's estimated that Newsday was saying it was around 23 million and then 37 million from a columnist in Variety. Whereas De Palma finally said it was about 26 million. And he shrugged, saying, I'm giving them a 3-hour gangster picture with Al Pacino. Wow. But the troubles were still not over. On October 28th, less than 2 months before its release, the MPAA, Motion Picture Association of America, slapped it with the dreaded X rating. We have been designated as a pornographic film, Bergman fumed to the Times. We'll accept the the X rating and appeal. When the news broke, De Palma had already recut the picture 3 times. But the ratings board maintained that the film deserved the adult-only rating for excessive and cumulative violence and for language. The director threw up his hands. He told the studio he wouldn't cut it any further. They'd have to fire him and find someone else to do it or take the X. Now, here's what's cool. He said, screw it. Give them the first cut and fight it. We'll go to war with these people, and that's what they did. They argued, and a month before, we're going with the original version. We're rolling the dice. On November 9th, exactly 1 month before the release, it got overturned and was an rated R movie. Now, it came out December 4th. It topped out at $45 million domestic. Topped out. Its domestic run. It was a bomb. Didn't make its money and didn't cover its costs. The reviews were horrible. This is from the Village Voice. Dismissed it as camp for the Coke crowd. New York Post, pointless bloodbath that aimed only to disgust, sicken, and horrify the audience with a rampage of violence, bloodshed, and carnage. It's a gangster movie. Okay, so that was, the controversies, all that led into it being released and it being a flop. And it wasn't until the advent of the VHS and the hip hop community of the 1990s to where it started making money. $44 million upon its initial release at $79 a pop. This is the VHS. Can you imagine paying $80 for VHS today? In its 20th edition, it became the fastest selling live action catalog title of the format to date, moving 2 million units in its first week, outpacing previous champs E.T. back in 1983. Few would have believed that Scarface would best E.T. at anything. Wow. And the hip hop community, obviously, it's become touchstone. Shout outs, samples from the film, t-shirts, merchandise. Scarface's pop culture influence is everywhere. Video games. It is a video game. Sports. You have athletes with tattoos of Tony Montana sayings, "The world is yours." So it's pretty extraordinary, the legacy of a film that was technically a flop. Let's just say it. Technically a flop. That's hard to believe. But I wanted to run down some of the controversies at the time, and the struggles and challenges that it took to make this film, and all the different people that had their hands involved. And just now it just lives on. It's one of the greatest crime movies that you'll ever see. So this is an addendum. Please make sure to subscribe to become a member of our channel and to check out our main retrospective of the film Scarface with Mr. H Reviews and Tom from Midnight's Edge. It's a fantastic deep dive retrospective into the film. We'll see you soon here on the Latino Slant. Say hello to my little friend.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. The Slant. The Slant. All right, Paulie, let's go.